So K-pop. Say what you want about the cheesy surface-level lyrics, the toxic beauty standards, and the downright damaging push towards having younger and younger performers in the harsh, judgmental spotlight. The way that I see it though, above all of that, K-pop as an audio-visual industry is also the birth mother to some of the biggest and most profitable art projects in the world right now. To paint you a picture here real quick, my favorite part of K-pop is not so much the music, but the packaging. I'm talking about the music videos, set design, the cinematography, the costumes these idols wear, the teasers, the trailers, the sheer modeling prowess and photography which is present within these promotional picture books. It's about the art of packaging pop music. Again, it's all merely a marketing strategy, but as big as K-pop has become, your song alone doesn't have the buoys to float in a sea of brand new projects popping out every year. And with that in mind, creative directors are probably feeling more and more pressure to make a promotional period that does not only stand out, but is also substantial enough for fans to bite on and remember. I mean, tell me why, in the year of our Lord, 2025, I still lay awake at night thinking about Red Velvet's Peekaboo. And that's not just because it's popular, it's because it's iconic. Behind every song, behind every comeback, there is a creative team that perpetually persists on being imaginative. There is a team that pours the money and resources given to them into a single project. And while these projects may have been made to cater to mass appeal, these K-pop directors, these K-pop people, still make it in such a way that still feels very specific and identifiable, and, for lack of a better term, authentic, which I really admire, so. Needless to say, my love for K-pop inspires me every day to go all out with my own art, so. Keeping with that spirit, in today's video, I will be Frankensteining.
Oh, baby!
Hello, Earth Dimension. My name is Nayaka, and if you know me, then you should know that besides the Korean pop idol industry, another interest of mine is Drawtectives, which is this RPG fantasy-inspired passion project on YouTube where 3 artists solve a mystery by drawing up a solution. It's episodic. The show follows private investigator Jancy True, who acts as the game master surrogate and the guiding figure for her young, rowdy, and frankly severely underqualified underlings, York, Grandagramajima, and Rosé. I'll get into their individual characters later, but all you need to know now is that Jancy is a very talented, very famous, but very old detective who needs, new faces to kind of keep her agency going. But screw her dumb luck, she ended up with these 3 bozos instead because they just so happen to be the only ones who applied for the job. And now to nosedive into the premise of this AO, when you transfer all of this information into a K-pop-esque setting, you have Jancy True, a retired ballad singer who now runs JNC Entertainment. It's a very new idol agency, and the jaded Miss True is sort of struggling to get it off the ground. So come around open auditions, and out of the 3 people who answered to the ad, only one of them actually wanted to be an idol, and it was Rosé. Now, Rosé in the show is this really chatty, kind of flirty girl with a blurry past who's just trying to reinvent herself in the big city. And I don't know if there's a nice way of saying this, but she gives me orphan vibes. Or at the very least, she kind of comes off as somebody who forms familial, romantic bonds with just about anybody because she didn't really have the kind of support growing up. And I'm not just saying this either, by the way. It seems like a good number of fans or a concerning number of writers on AO3 seems to catch on that same thing. So in my eyes, that's what gives it the semi-canon stamp. Anyway, the way that I want to mirror Rosé's story here is that maybe she could be one of those poor girls who quit school at a very young age to train and pursue her dreams of becoming a performer on stage. Now, in the world of K-pop, trainees are typically between the ages of 10 to 18, and within the 2-month to 10-year interim where they'd otherwise be stuck practicing in a dance studio, these hopeful young girls would sometimes earn the opportunity to prove their worth and debut via means of a televised competition. Now, we call this genre of TV survival shows, and I can sort of picture Rosé admitting herself into every single one. Yeah, that's right. I'm talking about Mix 9, 16, Idol School, Produce 48, Produce 101. Wait, that might be the boy one. Whatever. Girls Planet, Time Turner, just anyone that you could possibly be eligible for, she has tried and failed. Joining JNCE was her last chance. I mean, 23 pushing 24, the girl was basically geriatric within the K-pop industry, and especially with her post-pubescent L's having been broadcasted all over South Korea, Rosé really just stood in front of the casting team with nothing left to lose. So, she took a deep breath, stretched out her legs, and hit play. No doubt, the girl had skill, charisma, a certain je ne sais quoi. Plus, at this point, after her 100th ever time of being an idol in training, she's got plenty of experience. Taking into account as well, position in the canonical show as Jancy's right-hand fail girl, and how the sweet-talking human rogue will often take charge of the situation regardless of what's happening, I put Rosé as the leader and center of the group. Performance-wise, because Rosé, the playable character, inherited Karina Drawfee's distinct vocal fry, I put her in the lead vocalist sub-rapper position. This means that even if Rosé doesn't have the strongest foundation or the best vocal technique, you may still find her taking like 60% of the lines in a song because it just cannot stand without her unique enunciation and vocal texture holding it up. On top of that, in the show, I believe that Rosé is about, 6 feet tall and an ex-thief. This tells me that she probably has the kind of body control to squeeze and inconspicuously sneak her big ass around, which can also mean that she could be a pretty good dancer. Anyway, if you ever need something stupid to justify, just call me. She's got the limbs, she's got the voice, the energy, the unbridled, unsolicited confidence. Overall, I feel like she might give off the vibe of a seasoned performer who loves being in front of the camera. However, I do believe that there could be a sort of double-edged sword situation with Rosé in that sometimes she can be so expressive and so energetic that whenever she's having too much fun on stage, she could fall into the trap of over-dancing and just outright shouting instead of singing. But she's just so cute, I might just allow it. So anyway, this is the first of the 3 illustrations done. Here we got Rosé sitting in one of those Morris Wilkins tubs full of diamonds because she's a thief. And then she's holding a diamond rose as well because her name is Rosé and she's a thief. I love being on the nose, man. I really do. And behind her, there's this like shattered mirror with like creepy real eyeballs. Because I wanted it to be like, since the mirror is supposed to be like a reflection of yourself, reflecting other people's eyes instead would kind of be like about perception of others toward you. You know what I mean? And that's like Rosé's whole thing, I feel like. The whole piece in general is not super polished by any means, but I'm really happy with the way that the colors turned out, and I think it gets across a really certain feel, so I'll just move on from here. So in case you're feeling a little out of the loop and wondering why I drew Rosé in a tub full of diamonds rather than her on SBS Inkigayo singing and doing idol shit, I just would like to go over the concept of the group itself before moving on to the next Drawtectives, if that's alright with you. So as it is with most bands, K-pop groups will also have a concept or a gimmick that sort of dictates the trajectory of their sound, their art, and their career as a whole. And given that Drawtectives is a murder mystery show, it should be an absolute no-brainer that the K-pop group I'm basing off of them should have a horror mystery concept as well. And it's not like it's ever been done before. Artists like Red Velvet, Sunmi, and I'm so sorry for bringing up a dead horse, but Triple H are household names, at least in my eyes, whenever it comes to combining morbid horror and sometimes even icky concepts with genuinely fun, danceable music. And the Drawtectives being somewhere in the 21 and up kind of age range as well should let us get away with doing more mature concepts than what most Generation 5 groups are doing right now. With all this in mind, I decided to call the group Cold Case, because I thought it would be fun if the music and the guys themselves weren't the detectives like they are in canon, but rather the unsolvable mystery that the fans have to solve. Many real-world K-pop groups do stuff like this all the time to drum up intrigue, regardless if the mystery itself is built into the group's main gimmick from day one. It's just the promise of a story and the ideas that fans may be missing a very important detail to help understand the song gives the overall packaging of the release period a little bit more substance and replay value, thus helping with streams and the longevity of a certain project. This aspect of the process may be especially helpful for a nobody-ass company like JNCE, and I don't know, if Jancy is anything like Julia, the creator of Drawtectives, I could just imagine her like spending a little bit too much time in her office meticulously crafting the overarching story for each of her group's music videos so that her fans could have dots to connect when they watch. You know, something to play with and tear eyes. But anyway, this is Jima. Grendon Grandma Jima Highforge, she goes by all of those names, is a Nepo baby dwarf who ran away from her family's billion-dollar blacksmithing fortune to be a regular smegular dog walker. She's a druid who goes with the flow. She originally applied to be a pet whisperer of some kind, but the whole crime-solving thing was just a happy little accident. And in the K-pop AU, it's a similar story. Our grandma here is also a rich kid who ran away from $1 billion generational wealth to pursue her dreams of becoming an esteemed singer-songwriter on Bandcamp. Somewhere in the middle of living in the big city of Seoul, I think that grandma would someday realize that Bandcamp wasn't quite as lucrative as they once thought. They were running out of money, and so started looking into some K-pop like labels and companies that they could produce for in-house. So you know how Suga from BTS was originally just going to be just a producer but got tricked into performing on stage? And then how Jeon So-yeon writes and produces for her own group, so pretty much every G-Idol song is her idea and she's the backbone of every release that G-Idol comes out with? This is kind of like that. Jima, when left to her own devices, I feel like would make that kind of music that DPR Ian and Kolde would make. You know, like that sexy R&B, laid-back, 808 kick and snare sort of sound. So I think because we have grandma behind the wheel, it would make sense if Cold Case would also have that sort of sexy R&B pop vibe as well. Now, each season of the YouTube show has a new mystery for the guys to solve, right? The first season, Crescent Hill, was all about the murder of a paladin and the secrets hidden within this big old mansion he died in. The second season, Celestial Spear, took place on a luxury train where, suspiciously, everybody has amnesia and is doing absolutely nothing about it. And now, actually, I am writing and recording this video before the newest episode of Midnight Alley comes out, so currently I actually don't know what the season's mystery is. But basically what I'm saying is, back to K-pop, every season of DRAWTECTIVES could stand in for a single release period for Cold Case. Like, say, season 1 was their debut, so it must be very introductory, it must lay out the base sound and style of the group, and must establish the horrific but kind of quirky murder mystery concept pretty well before expanding it in season 2 with the first comeback, which strengthens the group's identity and presence. So thematically, and I love the way that Julia's done this, season 2 tackles the themes of identity and the afterlife, the idea of losing who you are and what you are after you've died. So I don't know if it was intentional, but it's a really good theme for a first comeback. I also noticed that Celestial Spear also had a heavier retro influence on top of the pre-existing Art Deco aesthetic, so I think it'd be really fun if this first comeback, Forget Yourself, had a bit of that 80s synth weird girl cinematic edge that Sunmi's music has. So for reference, I am mainly listening to Siren, Noir, and this playlist I made for the styling and photography of these concept photos as I pretend to be a creative director for this entirely fictional K-pop group. Anyway, I think grandma being a singer-songwriter could help her as a vocalist, and then just because she grew up rich, something tells me that she might have also been classically trained when she was a young boy. For these reasons, I put Jima in the main vocalist position. And how this differs from Rosé's lead vocalist, the main vocalist, from what I understand, is treated like the backbone. So Jima, not Rosé, has the responsibility of carrying some of the more difficult parts of the song, like a high note or the harmonies. In the show, grandma is probably one of the more lethargic of the three, so I can't imagine them being particularly gifted in dance. However, this character definitely inherited his player Nathan's memory and eye for detail, so I feel like this could help grandma follow and deliver on the choreography quite well, even if it doesn't look all too natural on their body. So what I'm saying is, maybe as a dancer, grandma's forte lies more in precision and silhouettes and lines rather than energy or power. I can also see grandma being a group leader type, as she's incredibly sincere and knows how to say, oh, fuck you, dude, you're a piece of shit, whenever someone steps out of line with them or their friends. However, a reason why I've made Rosé the leader instead is because if you've seen the show, you would know that grandma is a very, if you can't beat them, join them kind of guy. So it's that join them instinct that put me off putting her in the leadership position, but it does make for some very good TV, so I just know she'd be amazing on a variety show. Anyway, this is the grandma photo done. This piece honestly was quite annoying to draw. I don't know why I chose to draw a train. I guess I thought it would be easy because it's just a rectangle with windows, but no, that does not look like a train to me. You know, it's funny. Grandma is usually my favorite to dress and to draw. I think it's because that she's so short and so square that I like to put her in like flowy little fabrics and ruffles and like baby doll dresses and florals because I think it really like balances out her general look. However, because this set of illustrations is very season 2 themed and then season 2 itself was very much defined by the look and feel of Eugene Finch, I kind of struggled with dressing Grandma because have you ever seen two characters who dressed so differently? Eugene is very big on like the postmodern, the dark colors, the jewel tones, the cool jewel tones. He has the color scheme of a pigeon's neck, kind of, and he's also very big on that like cosmic technology vibe with like the geometric golden jewelry. Meanwhile, Grandma is stuck at the clearance bin at an H&M. But I don't know, I'd say I balanced these two things out quite well. I think I managed to keep what I like about dressing Grandma without compromising Forget Yourself's general aesthetics. And I'm happy with the way that it still looked pretty cohesive and like okay. So I'm glad. Okay, last but not least, you know who it is, baby! Yorick Rogdual. York for short is the 7-foot-tall, half-orc barbarian prince from the north who is best known for his snarky replies, killing his brother, and now his supermodel status. York has a chokehold on the Drawtectives fandom for the way that Jacob has decided to play him, for the way that he is consistently funny and incredibly fun to draw. He just has this inherent appeal as a character, so that's why I've made him the visual. The visual often gets a bad rap. In K-pop, visuals are typically the one member in the group who has the longest of legs, the smallest of waists, the most symmetrical of faces, because the visual's job is to be like the bait at the end of a fishing line, a pretty face to initially attract the viewers and entice them to listen to the rest of that group's music. But I feel like these days the term visual has gone out of style, as you can see that it's not always the mathematically prettiest member that gets the most attention. And besides, in the eyes of the public, the term itself has a tendency to undermine and limit the visual's actual performance besides just being beautiful. So a lot of groups don't actually have one designated visual anymore. In fact, companies these days would much rather hire 5 to 7 pretty performers to just pack it up on all sides. Either that's the case or they have a visual but they don't put the word visual as publicly as they used to. So while younger audiences tend to turn a blind eye to this particular role, I do believe that York can make for quite an effective visual, you know? But anyway, any fan of the Drawtectives would know that Yorick isn't all looks. No. He's also the weirdest motherfucker on the planet. This boy hates being an idol, and everyone knows it. He hates being on TV, he doesn't even know what a camera is, he loves having fans, but he will not humor them if they try anything funny. Remember, York is funny, not you. He won't sing, he might be the magne, but he will not be caught dead doing egyo. In fact, according to orc lore, he will not be caught dead doing anything. Ever. People will tune into his live streams, watch him casually go batshit, and say, "Oh no, York wasn't given any media training. York wasn't given any media training," but he was. He so was. It's just that nobody can contain him. Not even arm sleeves, not even the law. I know that amongst the actual cast of Drawtectives, York's player Jacob is the most musically inclined. I know he plays the guitar, he writes and produces his own music, he has his own Spotify. It's just that despite everything, I don't think York inherited any of that. Canonically, York can't dance. He just learned to read, and God, I don't know about singing, but he's quippy. He's quick-witted and spits just some of the most profound pieces of improvised dialogue that I've ever heard in modern media.
Well, I feel like if you died, then obviously you sucked. Nothing's ever escaped my grasp. I didn't let go.
So
I once held on to an antelope for 2 weeks. You will be but a smear.
So I made a main rapper because bars. The thing about dressing York is that I tend to lean hyper-masculine, you know, like sharp edges, solid colors. In fact, sometimes I lean so mask for York that I don't even think about what he's wearing, you know, like a real boy would. But the thing is, I leaned so feminine for Jima and Rosé's outfits that it would look kind of funny if York were to stand out that much, seeing as how they are supposed to exist as a group, that they're supposed to be seen as a singular identity, even if that identity is built up of 3 very different individuals. There are several fashion rules that I keep in mind whenever drawing York. Number 1 being that he can't be drawn in any sleeves because, quote, he's far too big for them. This is canon. So when I was looking into some K-pop / androgynous fashion that he could wear, I found a couple of pictures of Taemin that I thought fit the bill quite well. I like that he's not really wearing anything on the top here, but the stylist sort of kept his silhouette pretty interesting by putting on, like, I think this is either a dropped jacket or an arm warmer that kind of makes his arms look a little bit funky. So like, even if in full he's really just wearing a pair of pants and some shoes, the accessory here really ties the whole outfit together. So I thought this sort of workaround for sleeves would be really fun for York. But then I ran into the same problem again, like it was far too masculine, it was far too bold and strong. So I went back on Pinterest and I found this like really cool like black cut out top with like a spine detail going down the middle. In the picture it seems like the spine was made out of this like earring material, so it like dangles down rather than like supports the body like a brace or a corset. But it was just like so York. I was like so inspired because like it's so like morbid. It kind of speaks to York's barbaric background, and also like the fact that the spine itself is kind of a symbol of independence and strength, you know, like I can stand up on my own, I can hold myself up. I feel like that's a very York thing to scream. But on a garment, the spine sort of symbolizes something a bit more vulnerable to me because the fabric itself doesn't cover him the way it's supposed to. In fact, it exposes his bare back, you know. And on top of that, it's almost as if the spine is pulled out of his body, or this fake spine is supporting him, kind of like an exovertebrae, you know, like a bug. So to me, it kind of symbolizes vulnerability and softens out this otherwise really edgy outfit, you know? But York to me also seems like the kind of person who would walk into a battlefield butt booty naked because he is his own weapon and shield. So maybe the fact that there isn't a lot of fabric is like a point of pride for him, but who knows? Just overall, this weird shirt just really spoke to me for some reason. But even if you didn't dig too deep into it, it's got a really Prince-like silhouette, so it's kind of perfect. And then again, Celestial Spear, the season that I'm basing this whole like K-pop concept on, has a lot to do with identity, like who you were, who you are now. I feel like this concept can be applied to York pretty well because this is not a spoiler, by the way. This is just something that Jacob said in an episode to be funny. So he said that like he wanted to attend this like punk concert, but he couldn't because that very same day he was so busy killing his brother that he missed the concert. And the murder itself was very ritualistic. It's like a survival of the fittest sort of tradition where like you have to kill your siblings and the winner gets to have the throne and be king of the Northern Orcs, right? So York won, obviously, he's alive, and yet he's like fucking around in the city. Like, why is he here? So I don't really know what that means for York, but that is the storyline that I've decided to go for in this illustration. Like, this is who you were, this is who you could have been, but here you are at the music bank stairs trying to prove that you are indeed skinny enough to fit into that little hoop. Anyway, it's raining like really hard now, but my content stops for no one, so here are all the drawings done. Do you like them? I think they're okay. This past year, I've been so busy with school and animation that I kind of forgot that I was able to draw like this, so I'm quite happy with how they turned out. I think Rosé's is my favorite, but please let me know if you have a differing opinion. And I've also spent so long trying to come up with this stupid presentation, this stupid YouTube video that like so many idol groups have come out since then, and that really like reshaped my understanding of like the range of K-pop and like changed my approach to this AU as a whole, so it is quite fun to finally have it out of my brain. By the way, if you'd like to listen to the playlist which fueled this niche hyperfixation, I'll link it in the description. It's on Spotify. It's entitled Cold Case in English parentheses, in Hangul Cold Case close parentheses vertical bar first comeback single quotation marks forget yourself and caps lock the second mini album global release. You can't miss it because it's also sporting an album cover featuring Piss Boy photoshopped onto the New Jeans bunny holding a water bottle full of pee. So yeah, you can check that out if you'd like for fun. Perhaps maybe you fancy some K-pop recommendations. Some of these are quite old, but they are classics in my heart, so it doesn't matter. I had announced in December that I would stop streaming regularly starting now, so I probably won't be plugging my Twitch at the end of my videos going forward, but you can still follow me on all my other socials at ottororin to keep up with me and my art. In addition to that, if you have the means to financially support me and these videos, you can do so on Ko-Fi or just straight up commission me because I would love to draw you. Also, this is a new one. Kind of spontaneous, but I really want to try editing other people's videos for money. I mean, I'm already freelancing for Drawfee every year on top of editing for my own channel, but if you're a content creator looking for someone to edit your videos in a really fun visual way, feel free to contact me because I'm so down. As a side note, I'm an animation student, so I'm quite used to making animatics and being commissioned to make animatics. So if you like this flotation device of a YouTube video, I can do this for you too. Okay then, I feel like that's all I needed to say, unless I forgot something really important. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you liked it as much as I like to ramble about things that are not important in the grand scheme of things. Goodbye for real, and always remember that pee is a compliment and blood is insult.